Huh?
You open your phone, you're not even looking for anything, but within 30 seconds, you've already done it. Someone from high school just bought a house. A stranger on the internet has a body you don't. A colleague got a promotion you didn't even know you wanted. And just like that, something shifts. Your morning was fine. Now it doesn't feel fine. Why does this keep happening? Here's what nobody tells you. That feeling isn't weakness. It isn't insecurity you need to fix. It is one of the oldest, most sophisticated survival tools your brain has ever developed. And it is running right now, exactly as designed, even though the world it was built for no longer exists. Your brain compares, constantly, automatically, without your permission. And understanding why, really understanding why, changes everything about how you see yourself. Let's go back, not decades, not centuries, millions of years. Your ancestors didn't live alone. They couldn't. A lone human on the savannah was a dead human. The only way to survive was to belong to a group. And inside that group, your position mattered enormously. It wasn't about ego. It was about calories, about protection, about who got access to a mate, to shelter, to the food after the hunt. Rank determined survival. And your brain knew it. So your brain built a system, a constant automatic scanner that looked around at every member of your group and asked one question: where do I stand? Am I doing enough? Am I falling behind? Do I need to work harder, fight harder, impress more? This wasn't optional. This was the engine that kept your bloodline alive for hundreds of thousands of years. Researcher Leon Festinger called it social comparison theory. He documented it in 1954. But the mechanism itself is far older than any study. Festinger found that humans have a near constant drive to evaluate their own abilities and opinions, and that we almost always do this by looking at other people, not because we're shallow, because comparison is how the brain calibrates where you are. Think about what that means. Your brain is not asking, am I happy? It is asking, am I keeping up? Those are completely different questions, and your brain only learned to ask the second one. Here's something that will rewire how you see this. Psychologist Abraham Tesser developed what he called the self-evaluation maintenance model in the 1980s. He found that comparisons don't just make you feel bad, they are strategic. Your brain is not randomly measuring you against everyone. It is specifically, deliberately measuring you against people who are close to you and relevant to what you care about. A surgeon doesn't spiral watching a professional tennis player win a match, but a surgeon absolutely feels something watching a colleague land a bigger case. Your brain only compares in categories where your identity is at stake. It is hunting for threats, specific threats, in your specific territory. And this is where it gets strange. Because for most of human history, your comparison pool was tiny, maybe 150 people. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar famously argued that the human brain evolved to track and maintain relationships with roughly 150 individuals, a number now known as Dunbar's number. In that world, you knew everyone you were being compared to. You saw them every day. You understood their lives, their struggles, their lucky breaks. The comparisons were painful, yes, but they were grounded in reality. Now look at what happened. In one generation, less than a blink in evolutionary time, your comparison pool exploded from 150 people to 8 billion. Your brain is running the same ancient software. But instead of watching your neighbor's fire, you are watching the curated highlight reel of millions of strangers. Your ancient calibration system never evolved to filter for performance. It never learned to ask, is this real? Is this the full picture? Is this person showing me their Tuesday morning or their best moment of the last 6 months? It doesn't ask. It just compares, and it concludes, you are behind. This is not metaphor. This is neuroscience. When you perceive that someone else has more status, your brain registers it the same way it registers a physical threat. Research published in the journal Social Cognitive and Affective Neuroscience found that social comparisons activate the same brain regions involved in processing pain. The amygdala lights up. Cortisol rises. Your body responds to seeing someone else's success the way it once responded to a predator breaking through the brush. And here's the part your brain never updated. When a predator showed up, the stress response helped you survive. It made you faster, sharper, more focused. But chronic social comparison, running that same alarm hundreds of times a day, every day, triggered by a phone you never put down, keeps your cortisol elevated in a loop your body was never designed to sustain. The stress response that once saved your ancestors is now quietly burning through your nervous system at rest. You were never built for this volume. But here's the counterintuitive twist. The comparison itself isn't the enemy. The ancient system isn't broken. In its original context, it was genius. If someone in your group discovered a more efficient hunting technique, you needed to notice. If another member of your tribe was gaining status through generosity, you needed to observe and adapt. Social comparison didn't just protect you from falling behind. It was the mechanism through which your ancestors learned, innovated, and improved. Festinger understood this. The comparison drive exists precisely because humans who monitored their position in the group were more likely to take the actions needed to stay alive. The system still works that way. Studies show that upward comparison, looking at someone who has more than you, can trigger motivation, effort, and genuine growth when the gap feels bridgeable and the comparison feels fair. A junior scientist watching a great researcher can feel inspired. A young athlete watching a seasoned competitor can sharpen their training. The exact same mechanism that can devastate your self-worth can also drive your best performance. What determines which one happens is not the comparison itself. It's the story your brain tells about the gap. If the gap feels like information, comparison becomes fuel. If the gap feels like a verdict, comparison becomes poison. And your ancient brain, flooded with curated images of perfection from every direction simultaneously, almost always reads the gap as a verdict. So what can you actually do with this? Understanding the system doesn't automatically free you from it, but it does change something essential. When you feel that familiar drop, when someone else's success triggers something in your chest, you can recognize what is actually happening. Your 200,000-year-old threat scanner just fired. It saw something it interpreted as a gap in status, and it responded exactly as programmed. That's not a character flaw. That's a survival mechanism running in the wrong century. The researchers who study this most carefully point to something called comparison awareness, the ability to catch the comparison mid-process, name it, and consciously redirect the evaluation. Not suppressing it, not pretending it isn't there, but asking the one question your ancient brain never evolved to ask, compared to what version of reality? Is this person showing you their whole life or their best angle? Is this comparison relevant to your actual goals or just triggered by proximity? Is this gap telling you something useful or just alarming an ancient alarm? When you ask those questions, something shifts. You take the comparison out of the amygdala and bring it into the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that actually knows what century you're in. Here's your evolution mirror. Your ancestors survived by tracking every move their group made. The ones who noticed when someone climbed higher were the ones who knew to climb too. That drive didn't disappear when you got a smartphone. It followed you here. The same system that kept your bloodline alive for 100,000 years is now scanning Instagram at 2 a.m, reading the gap between your life and a stranger's highlight reel as if your survival depends on the result. It doesn't. But your brain doesn't know that yet. You can't stop comparing yourself, but you can learn to read the comparison for what it actually is. A 200,000-year-old survival signal misfiring in a world it was never designed to navigate. You opened your phone this morning and felt that familiar shift. Now you know exactly what shifted, and knowing that changes everything.